Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers. Going to be at Wells Fargo Center tonight, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. And we're getting our guys back, Laker fans. Not everybody, but AD and Bron will be available for tonight. Not sure about Patrick Beverly, and we're still waiting on Wenyen Gabriel to be reevaluated at the end of the week or whatever. It's probably going to be another couple days. So that's where we're at. We're getting AD back against the Philadelphia 76ers team who just got Harden back in the last game. Their last game, I did a little homework on that, watched the highlights, and that's kind of where my head is in regards to the Philadelphia 76ers. Fresh off watching the highlights, they had a game against the Houston Rockets where they went to overtimes. Of course, you're talking about the Houston Rockets. You're talking about James Harden returning there. So he came back after a month of injury against his old team in his old building and got beat. He went 4 for 19, and I think the only shots he hit were threes. I think that's how that was. Not a great show for him. He had 21 points, 5 turnovers. Joel Embiid had 39 points, 7 turnovers. This is one of those things where I'm like, if they're going to combine for 12 turnovers against a Rockets team that would probably just rather tank, that's a bad sign for where they are right now. Now, granted, obviously guys are coming back from injury, so that has to be taken into account. But that is encouraging if you're a Laker fan, knowing that, the basics of our team is that as long as we have our core on the floor and they're playing like they're supposed to be playing, we believe we can beat anybody. If we don't have our core on the floor, we believe we can't beat anybody. It's literally that simple. We're a contender or we can't win a game. That's just how we're constructed. So we played in our last game against the Toronto Raptors, didn't have those guys. And because of it, we understood going into the game was already over. So, on this channel, what we were trying to kind of condition ourselves for was to what to look for in regards to an expected loss. And we saw what we wanted to see. If everybody went in looking at it the way that I was looking at it, they walked away from that game feeling very good. We won the second half of that game. Both quarters in the second half, we won. And the Lakers are a bad second half team. So when you don't have your stars and you're going up against a fully healthy Toronto team that specializes in forcing turnovers and specializes in getting out in transitions and specializes in getting rebounds, and you win the quarter against them with your third unit against their stars, yeah, you feel very good about that if you know what you're looking at. And the thing about it was, for me, I didn't want guys to play outside of themselves in regards to their roles. I didn't want LeBron James to attempt 35 shots just because he had it to do. I didn't want us to start Russell Westbrook just because the starters were out. I didn't want us to change anything that we're ultimately trying to work on in a game like Toronto because AD's injury and LeBron's injury was very short term. So that means we want guys to keep the same habits that they have when those guys are not on the floor that they would have when those guys are on the floor, vice versa, rather, so that we can maintain the synergy that we've been having as we've led up to the Milwaukee game where we were able to win that basketball game. The reason why we were able to win that basketball game, in my opinion, is because we've all been working on our individual things that we have to do from player to player to player to contribute to ultimately success, because guys independent of the focus of working on their own problems or working in their own weaknesses has collectively made us a bad unit. And so when guys look at, okay, well, I got to get better rebounding, I got to get better at attacking, this guy has to get better at such and such, and they all are doing their job. So when you have a game like the Toronto game where you're only expecting to miss the people that you're missing for one game, you still need those guys to do their job so that when those guys get back, they can slip back into the same roles that they were in. And Bron can slip right back into their roles and get the same expectations and expectancies from the surrounding guys who have specific roles to accomplish, while simultaneously in a game like Toronto, allowing the guys who don't get as many looks to get those looks. So a guy like Bron needed to do the same thing he normally does, not try to do more to win the game, but more so allow the game to go as it's going to naturally go, as he does the things that he's supposed to simulate, assuming AD is going to be coming back into the lineup very soon. So he did that. He kept his turnovers down. He shot a reasonable amount of shots. He hit a decent shot percentage from behind the arc. Rebounded the ball like a madman. And, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. That was the game before. I'm tripping. That was the game before that in Washington. The last game he didn't play, but nevertheless, this is what I saw from Bron in that game. And so as he was removed for the next game, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. But nevertheless, as he was removed from the next game, we saw guys continue that as in what he did, which was keep their roles without actually switching up anything. So, yeah, let me get my head right. This is 2 games slapped together in Washington and, of course, Toronto. But nevertheless, this is the point. I was very pleased with Bron. He set the tone in regards to not trying to do too much because AD was gone, not trying to do too much because the team wasn't necessarily playing with everyone, but more so just doing what they needed to do so that they could stay ready for when AD and Bron got back. So that's essentially what I'm trying to come around to saying. Now, as we go into this particular game, what I want to see the Los Angeles Lakers do, of course, is now redirect our thoughts back to what it looks like when we play normally. Anthony Davis is back, which means we got to force the ball to AD. We got to get him the ball, and we got to make dang sure that he's getting it more so in the second half with intent, because that's really one of our weaknesses, and we have gotten a lot better at that. So if we can just continue on that path of having Bron do the things that he was doing against Washington, which is rebound the ball a lot, since Wenyen is out, that's going to be the need, and focus most of his energy on that side of the ball and rebounding and facilitating, trying to get more than 6 assists on the night. And if he's hot, do what he's been doing, man, because he's working. And as far as AD, if he's feeling 100%, we want you to attempt a lot of shots, man. You attempted 30 shots in the last game that you played, hit 22 of them, gave us 55 points and a bunch of rebounds and 3 blocks. I think that is a recipe for success for the Lakers, especially going up against Joel Embiid. We want to get him in foul trouble, and we want to have him working on the defensive side more so than he wants to. Joel Embiid doesn't have to go up against guys as talented as him very often. It doesn't happen. Maybe once, twice a year. It doesn't happen. This is a night where he's going to have to do that. This is a night where he's going to look somebody in the eye who he knows can hit a shot for shot. Every shot he hits, AD can hit. Every shot he blocks, AD can block. He understands he's on the floor with somebody as good as him, and that is rare. We need to take advantage of that by making sure that player who's as good as him is getting the same amount of usage as he's expected to get on the other side of the ball. They're going to give Joel the ball. They're going to make sure he gets his 28, 30 shots. We need to do the same because we have a player like that, and we definitely do not need to pretend that we don't going forward. That's where we at. He's one of those. And until he proves himself to be the AD that was shooting 16% and getting only 5 and 4 rebounds, until he goes back to being that guy, we're going to assume he's going to continue on the ascension he's been on. Now, granted, he's been out for a couple games with the flu, so he's probably not going to feel as good as he needs to be at his best condition. But at the same time, the level he's been playing at, I expect him to play very well. So this is something that I'm hoping to see. And as we continue to feed him, I expect him to do that. I expect big numbers, man, on both sides of the floor, and I expect us to monitor him and hopefully keep him out of foul trouble, while simultaneously trying to target getting Joel in foul trouble. I was trying to figure out if I believe the strategy to let him eat is the way to go and shut everybody else down. Absolutely not. And the reason why that is because they only really have him to go to that's an efficient player. Which means that if you allow him to eat, they're going to connect on every possession. And that means it's going to be incumbent upon you to connect on every possession. And you can't guarantee that with a defender like him on the floor. So that's why you don't let him do all the eating. You pressure him on the offensive side, try to wear him down, maybe even pick up the pace, try to see if you can get him to run too much. One thing you know about this team is they don't have a whole lot of athleticism. They don't have a lot of wings, neither do we. So we can't really take advantage of that. But if for some reason we had dynamic players, this is the team you want to go up against. And they can knock you. They can do damage to a team like this, just like those guys can do damage to a team like us. So it is what it is. Luckily, we don't have to deal with Tyrese Maxey tonight. He will be out for another couple of weeks with his injury. So this is what I'm looking at. If we're going to have any real success tonight, it's going to be us leaning on our stars, just like we would in the Milwaukee game. You know, we're going up against super duper stars. There's no secret. James Harden is one MVP in this league. Joel Embiid is probably going to get one very soon, and these guys can, bounce back from a bad loss like that in Houston on their home court against a Laker team that's missing a Wenyen Gabriel, a team that's just getting back Anthony Davis, and really take it to them if we allow them to. The thing about this team, though, honestly, you guys know this. This ain't no secret. I'm not a big Doc Rivers fan. I'm not a big believer in some of the strategy that he uses. I think he could go different directions a lot of time with the player rotations and stuff like that. We just don't share similar ideas in regards to what he should do with his rosters a lot of the time. I just personally think he just uses the wrong players most of the time. But nevertheless, it's a situation where I'm hoping we can really flex and kind of beat him that way, win the coaching battle. That's what I'm hoping Darvin does tonight. We're going to win the coaching battle because we're getting AD back. I'm pretty certain Bron will be back as well. And that makes us a full team. And the Philadelphia 76ers are not a well-playing team right now. They're still trying to get everybody back into to functioning. And as I said, they're deficient in some very key areas that make it so that they're not very dynamic defensively. Without Joel Embiid on the floor, they pretty much aren't going to be able to defend you at all. So getting him in foul trouble and removing him from the game is a surefire way to make the game go your direction. With respect to James Harden, who can go crazy at any moment, I don't want to disrespect him, and he go off for 60 and 20 and 30 and all kinds of different crazy numbers that he's capable of doing. And I respect his talent level. So if something like that were to happen, you just salute and go away. But that's not what you expect. He's not in that conditioning. So this is one of them games where it's like, look, man, if AD's good and Bron does what he's been doing, which is playing unselfish basketball, rebounding the basketball, giving us intent on trying to get in transition and stuff like that, working on himself and his tendencies that ultimately are important for us to kind of get worked out. If he's taking care of himself, I have a lot more confidence in our team as a whole. Because to be frank, a lot of what went wrong starts and ends with him. In terms of guys and their confidence, guys and whether or not they're focused, guys and whether or not they're going to lean in on what the game plan is. It usually starts with whether or not he's going to be involved. So I just want him to continue to look inward, work on his energy, work on all his stuff, and I think that just translates to other guys just kind of organically doing that themselves. Austin Reaves is the guy I want to talk about, man. Austin Reaves has not played well on this road trip. It's not for lack of effort. I'm not sitting up here saying he's not giving me energy. He's giving me energy. It's not coming into any type of production, and I'm kind of, I ain't gonna say frustrated. I just understand he's in a slump, and he's gonna need to snap out of it so that we can have a real good chance of beating a team like Philly. He can attack them, is essentially what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's the most dynamic player, but he's dynamic enough to where he can give them problems in that way. I want to see him drive to the rim, get to the line, continue the offensive rebound and defensive rebound as he's able to, and just play to score the ball. That's what I'll say to him. We're a much better team when he's looking to attack scoring the ball. Now, sometimes he can be inefficient, especially on the road, so play it by ear, I guess. But if he's got it going, we really are a better team if he can give us a good 15 to 20 points of scoring. Lonnie Walker fourth, I always want to say third. Fourth is somebody who's been struggling a little bit, but we know that's because of the foot injury has contributed to that. But even he needs to, if he's going to lace him up, your game got to travel, brother. You know what I'm saying? There are more than one ways to be effective in helping this team, and he's a very solid playmaker. So if the shot ain't falling, put it on the ground and look to make a play for AD just like everybody else. That's going to be the key to life for the whole team. If AD's on the floor, you ain't got to struggle. Find him, and you'll find production. So that's really what it is, man. And I think everybody should be looking for AD, just like Bron said. It's Bron's job to find Anthony Davis, but it's also everybody else's job to find Anthony Davis. We just have to be eccentric on Anthony Davis being the focal point. And it's on the coach and the coaching staff as a whole to make sure that in the process of us doing that, we do not wear him down. Balance in everything we do. Troy Brown has been somebody I also like to mention because we saw some of his deficiencies defensively kind of rear its ugly head. I don't know if he's not healthy. I don't know what it is, but it wasn't just defensively, honestly. It was on both sides of the floor, but it particularly had to do with just coordination and footwork. And guys running past him on the defensive end while he's standing still, and then his ball handling and stuff like that being really taken advantage of by those very good defenders in Toronto. So he was exposed a little bit, even though he had a good plus minus. I want to see him play better, and I want to see the coaches work with him so we can get those deficiencies under control if we're going to lean on him as much as we do. Patrick Beverley, I don't know if he's going to give it a go. He didn't play in the last game, of course. What can we say, man? It's all been said. We know he can't hit a basket. We also know that our coach leans on him a lot. It would be great if the coach would stop. It would be great if he could hit some shots. The end. What else? Russell Westbrook. Been very pleased with Russell Westbrook. He's been passing the ball, looking to do what he does. I was listening to some guys, man. Some guys I just figured, I just discovered. Which It Stands is the name of his podcast. He was sitting down with a brother. And the guy that he was on the podcast was talking about how he felt Russell Westbrook should have been trying to be aggressive in that situation and try to score the ball. In theory, because of who he is, yeah, you're supposed to say that. You're supposed to think that, rather. But in my mind, I'm like, nah. I want Russell Westbrook to continue to do what it is that he's doing, just like I want LeBron James to continue doing what he's doing. It's ever so important that those superstars work on their own tendencies because they have habits that hurt the team. So, for example, we need Russell Westbrook to come off the bench, even if we don't have another point guard at all, because we need him to continue to stay in the rhythm of being on the bike in the first quarter, coming in at the 7-minute mark or whatever it is, and being with the unit that he's going to be playing with, because the units that are in the starting lineup just don't fit with him very well. Now, we can find units that allow him to play with some of the starters, but that starting unit, we just don't want to start that way, no matter what. So even if he's available to start and we don't have other point guards, we still want him slotted in that position. I think he was a much better example than I was trying to use for LeBron, by the way, but never mind that. The point is, we want guys to stay within their roles, even if it costs us games when AD is out, because a lot of times those games are going to be lost anyway if we ask those guys to step out of those roles. You trying to do too much within this system with those players, you still ain't going to do nothing. So we know that. Guys just have to stay in their positions, and we just have to wait for AD to come back, and when he does, those guys being in those well-oiled positions will make us the machine we are. We don't want guys getting used to doing more, and then when AD gets back, we can't get him the ball. Or, you know what I'm saying? It's one of the things, or they don't want to trust him because now they used to do it. They seen themselves do it. Nah, we don't want that. We don't want Bron to step back into closer because we have to train ourselves to feed AD. And because he's not a guy who's going to demand the ball and kick and slap people around if he doesn't get it, we have to work on ourselves, as a team in order to feed him. So it would be easier if he had a Shaq-like personality, because then he would hold guys to it if they don't. But that's not what we got. So guys got to be accountable, and that's just who we are. And I accept the fact that who we are is who we are, and those guys, it seems like they're doing it too, and that's why it's easy to buy into the unit. So that's what it is, man. That's what we're preaching. Tonight we're going to have our full team, so it should be exciting. And the good thing is, this is one of the games where we honestly thought we had no shot of winning, because you look at the Sixers, Joel Embiid, you look at us, we saw who we were. Just look at that on this calendar and just don't assume that you're going to win. But now that we see where we are at this point in the season, we see where they are in this point in the season. The truth of the matter is, they're struggling. Now, they are coming home, though, and a team that's struggling needs to see a bad team in their own gym, and by definition, we are that. So some could argue, maybe even I would argue, that what they actually need is to see us at home. But I don't think the us that they want to see is the us that's coming through that door. I think they would much rather see the Lakers that played the first 12 games of the season rather than the Lakers that played the last 12 games of the season. And they're going to see the latter. We're coming in with a confident bunch. Guys know who they are. Russell Westbrook, as I said, is coming off the bench, averaging 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. I didn't even know his numbers were that high. I had no idea. I thought he was averaging like 12 points, 5 and 3 or something. He's really killing it in this role, as a Hall of Famer's expected to. And I think he'd be even better if he was getting his calls as he drives at the rim like crazy, getting contact on just about every possession, and does not get those, just like Bron. So we want those. We're going to talk about that because we're seeing too much of it. So that's as much as I'll say now. But, at the end of the day, I'm confident. We got AD on the floor. With what I've seen out of him over the last 3 weeks, there's no team that we don't have a good chance at being able to meet at the altar when we have our full team. We've already proven that when we beat Milwaukee and they were getting Middleton back. So this team ain't as good as Milwaukee. Philly ain't. Philly, I don't think Philly's as good as Toronto is right now. And our lesser guys went up against Toronto and won 2 full quarters back-to-back against those guys. And cut that lead down to 13 very, very soundly. Even made them, Damian Jones, Kendrick Nunn, and all those guys that we bash, made the Toronto Raptors and their very, very talented squad use a zone down the stretch of the basketball game to keep us from coming back in it. And that is something that those guys, our lesser guys, that's something they could hang their hat on. They could put that on their head like a hat, because for a fact, most second units ain't going to force the best defense in the league to play no damn zone down the stretch of a basketball game when they're up by 15. No, that ain't going to be something you see too often. So if we're the worst bench in the world, I guarantee you most benches ain't doing that. So that's why I want Laker fans to be encouraged by what we saw in the Toronto game. It was actually one of the better games for our overall franchise this season, because what you saw, based on your needs to keep guys in a role that AD can slip back into and Bron can slip back into and continue to have success, is in place. Meaning, based on what I saw, I have no logical reason to believe that the Los Angeles Lakers can't play the exact same way they played against the Milwaukee Bucks, against the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. based on the fact that everybody else stayed in their roles while everybody else was gone. Now, without Wenyen Gabriel, I don't think we function properly because we don't have that guy that can help us get 50-50 balls and rebounds and all the other stuff I say over and over again. So without him, I still don't think we're actually a winning basketball club. But if AD is putting up 55 and 17 or whatever the high numbers would be, it'll make up for a lot. But we're going to need guys to hustle hard. We're also out of Juan Toscano-Anderson, who's going to be missing 2 weeks with his ankle injury. It looked real painful, man. So we're hopefully he can come back fast and get back healthy. But we're down size. So that's the key to it. We're going to be leaning on Anthony Davis. We're going to have to accept the fact that we may have to play some small ball. Laker fans, we hate it. But it may be something we see a little bit of when Joel sits down. I understand. And the Philadelphia 76ers have some good players on their team that they're just not using very much. DeAnthony Melton is one of the players that they do use. Don't consider him in that, but he's a very good player that they got from Memphis last year, a guard that's really, really active. Milton and Melton are both on the same team, both guards, both dynamic, both coming at you. So look for both of them. Melton and Milton will be on for the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. Furkan Korkmaz is another guy who shoots the three a lot. I like him. I've always liked that player. He's just somebody who continues to shoot the ball very well when I see him play. Just a reliable three-point threat. And they got some guys that they're not using that they need to use. Matisse Thybulle, not in rotation. I would love for the Lakers to acquire Matisse Thybulle. I know he can't hit a shot, but he's literally like probably 7th or 8th best on-ball defender in all of basketball. The problem is his offense is really, really bad. He's like a big version of Patrick Beverley right now. But he does so much for you defensively, and he's so big and in size, and he really is fast, so if you're in the pace situation, he can keep up with most. And I just don't think Philly using him right. They're paying too much attention to his deficiencies and not nearly enough attention to him as a specialty defender. They didn't use him at all in the last game against the Houston Rockets when they ain't got nothing but athletic defenders all over the floor. So you can hit a couple more threes, Doc. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I just don't believe in Doc Rivers. Another player that he doesn't use, our very own Montrezl Harrell, had 0 minutes in the last game. Now, unless Montrezl has some ankle injury or something I don't know of, okay, fine, cool. But if there's no injury involved with these players, and you're going up against the Rockets, of whom Montrezl Harrell started his career with, played some good years with, you didn't play him at all in a double overtime game? And you're lacking in energy and size? I'm telling you, it's just about who he plays most of the time. I always look at Doc Rivers and I say, yo, who are you trusting? Just like I say to our coach, who are you trusting? He lean on guys that can't do nothing for him and let them shoot him out of a game and will let the hot hand sit down all night long. And so my thing is, he's going to play into our hands if he does the stuff that he's prone to do in that regard. And I'm looking forward to beating him because of it. So that's one of the things I get frustrated with Doc Rivers. Anytime you hear me talk about Doc Rivers, it's going to be this tone because he just always doing something that irritates me. Oh, like always. It just is what it is, though. He's a Clipper coach to cover our banners, so I'm always hate. And he's a Celtic coach that beat us in the finals, so I'm always hate. Get the point. But it is what it is, man. Even if all of that wasn't into place, he still just does stuff I really don't understand, and I think he could get more out of his team if he just leaned on him a little more. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. Ain't my problem. I ain't a Sixer fan. PJ Tucker. Father time. I think that's the story with PJ, man. He signed a pretty big contract with him. They had high hopes for him, but I just think he's run into it, man. And they're asking him to do a little too much. They don't have that dynamic, athletic, power forward, small forward guy that they can use to put on people that they can trust can score. You know what I mean? They don't trust Thybulle to score, so they bring in PJ to step in front of Thybulle instead of developing Thybulle to be who they want PJ to be. But whatever. It is what it is. We should be able to kind of see where LeBron James is going to have his battles tonight with PJ. You know they're going to throw Bron and PJ, they're going to slap them on top of each other and see and let them battle. I pretty much expect him to be on Bron all night. But as I said, PJ's not in his greatest conditioning. So Bron going to get the best of him, as he always does. It's Bron. So that's what I expect to see there, unless Doc does something weird and puts James Harden on Bron or something. He might. Who knows? But, yeah, another guy I like over there, Paul Reed. That's another power forward that you have to be very careful with because he does play very well. Rebounds the ball, plays with a lot of energy. If you use him and Trez together, I'm pretty sure they'd go crazy on you. But they're not going to ever do that because they're too busy doing other stuff. But it is what it is, man. I'm looking at this Philadelphia 76ers team as a team that we are expected to beat if we're fully healthy based on the way they've been playing as of late. with respect to Joel Embiid, who's obviously an MVP candidate, who's obviously expected to score over 40 points, maybe even 50 points tonight. I would not put that past him at all. But I don't think that should cause us to lose the game based on the way they defend. They don't defend the ball. They turned the ball over 20 times against a Houston Rockets team that they lost to. Like, we should be able to force turnovers against this team. We should be able to score repeatedly in the paint on this team despite Joel being down there. Because what I kept on seeing was Houston Rockets just getting in the paint over and over again every quarter. Just layup, 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 layup. Guys like KJ Martin and Jalen Green just driving into the paint, just laying it up all over those guys. So they lack that dynamic power forward that they act like they do. Because they put PJ Tucker down there, so you can just bump him around and draw fouls, stuff like that. He's just not where he used to be. So if they're not going to address that front court, guys like Lonnie, guys like Austin, Russell, of course, Braun, of course, we should be able to attack their paint and have success. And hopefully get some calls tonight. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about this matchup. I think this is a winnable basketball game against a very, very elite player. An elite team, but they're an elite player in Joel Embiid. And he's going to take this personally. I mean, if he were to stumble across my video, I'm pretty sure he's going to drop 50 on us. But nevertheless, that should not be enough if they play the way they've been playing. And judging by the fact that they're trying to work a big piece like Harden back into the fold, and he don't understand that he needs to get back to the facilitating Harden and not the shooting Harden, then we should be able to play it. We should be able to take possessions from him based on the way he's going to be shooting. So if they're going to turn the ball over and they're going to shoot poorly, that's going to play right into the LA Lakers' hands, and we're looking forward to that being something that we take advantage of. So a smart basketball game, a physical basketball game, and the physicality should come from our end. We should be taking it to them. We should beat up Joel Embiid tonight. We should put people on him. We should make Thomas Bryant foul him tonight. Damian Jones should be hitting him hard tonight. I want him hurt, not physically, like injured, but like I want him walking away hobbled, because that's ultimately the type of game that we're going to have to take to him. Because at the end of the day, it's a one-man band. That's a one-man band. If they try to beat us with other players, it probably will not work. And there's one player I did not mention that I'm wrong for not mentioning. His name is Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is playing very well. Tobias Harris has been playing very well since he got there. And he is actually a player that I think always flourishes under Doc Rivers. He and Doc Rivers, when they were in the Clipper land, a lot of people forgot that, but I think Tobias Harris played his best years as a Clipper, his best year rather, as a Clipper. And so under Doc Rivers, and now he's back with Doc and he's picked right back up where he's left off. He is somebody that I expect to have a lot of success if we don't intend on guarding him. And given the fact that he's their third option, that make it a very dangerous dynamic. So depending on how well he's playing defensively will ultimately determine how well they do. Because if they lean on him and he's got it going, he should be able to make up for a lot of mistakes that they ultimately make as a team that I'm aware of. So I don't watch a lot of Philly. I ain't gonna pretend like I know this team like that. But what I can tell you is I'm aware of most of what their roster is. I'm aware of their deficiencies athletically, and then the fact that you could score in their front court. He only had 39 rebounds and 2 overtimes against the Houston Rockets team. 39 rebounds? We usually get over 40 in regulation, and that's not the greatest rebounding night for us. So if they rebound like that, we for sure gonna beat them. So I say the Lakers need to continue to crash the glass. The fact that we took our little lesser guys and put them up against a hardcore Toronto fully healthy team and got some boards and really, really took it to them tells me that those lesser guys are probably going to feel real confident against guys who are not as good as those Toronto guys tonight, especially if AD and Bron are next to them. So I'm expecting them to push forward against those lesser guys, bring it to the Meltons and the Fork and the Korkmazes, and try to shine tonight. Thomas Bryant must be mentioned because of how well he played in the last game. He's been balling since coming in for us. And with guys missing from the lineup in the front court, he's going to be ever so important. We're going to need him to be smarter in defending players, especially when it comes down to situations where guys have an extra pass to make. He's going to have to play smart. He's going to have to play off. He's got to stop being so reactive, so jittery, all this. No, slow it down. Let things happen around you and react to that rather than trying to anticipate everything and react to every little thing that happens. He's got to get better at that. It's on them coaches to help him with that. And everything else is great. He's been catching the ball, fantastic hands. The 3-ball actually fell. We don't want him to fall in love with it, but we know we can leave him back there. Speaking of 3-ball, moving away from that, AD shooting the 3 straight away is something that is falling. I know he doesn't want to shoot the 3 at all, and I'm happy with that because we're a bad 3-point shooting team. But he has a hot spot, and it's straight away. It's directly straight away. He's hitting. So we need to try to take advantage of that when necessary. And also, catch and shoot situations. Bron is a better catch and shoot three-point shooter than people give him credit for. He is. He doesn't necessarily shoot well off the dribble. He thinks he does because he likes to take them, but he doesn't. But when guys are giving him a chest pass or a bounce pass into a three-point shot, usually a chest pass into a three-point shot, if it's in rhythm, he's going to hit it. I want Bron to take those shots. You want threes? Make it so that someone's passing them to you. Make it so that someone's getting you that three off a rhythm pass, man. You're going to make it more so than not. So that's something I want to say. I don't want nobody dribbling off of a defensive rebound into a three-point shot. I think it was Dennis Schroeder. I don't know who it was in the last game. Might have been Troy Brown. I don't know who it was. A big pet peeve of mine. Just like small ball. I loathe it. There's nothing I hate more than not seeing the ball get passed at least once off a defensive rebound from the other side. If it's not a fast break, pass it around, man. Do not dribble into a three-point shot. None of y'all are Steph Curry that has the ability to dribble into a three-point shot like that. Nobody. All of us suck at that. Kendrick Nunn loves to do it. 37 is a weapon. Used to do it before he went off to Minnesota. So I'm a Minnesota by the way. We hate it. Nobody ever should be doing that in a Laker uniform as far as I can tell. It's the worst thing in the world. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. Big game against the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. We're getting everybody back except for Wenyen Gabriel. Hopefully we lean on the right people tonight and take advantage of Doc Rivers, who probably will not. That's what I got to say, man. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. Wow.